You have to truly believe in the magic.
What's up, Magic fans, and welcome to this week's episode of Penny for Your Thoughts, the Orlando Magic UK podcast. I'm your host this week, Mikey. As always, I'm joined by my friend from the Valleys, Mr. Geraint Jones, who's getting his bags packed, ready for his little trip to Orlando. Evening, mate.
Evening, mate. Yeah, bags are all down from the attic. So this weekend we shall be trying to select 14 Magic jerseys out of my collection to try and fit in for a 2-week holiday in the Sunshine State. So yeah, very excited, can't wait, and looking forward for 4 games.
14 Markel Fultz jerseys, yeah?
I don't have 14 Markel ones yet, unfortunately, mate. So no, I'm going to have to add to that collection. I want to say 5. Five.
Plus your t-shirt.
Oh, plus my t-shirt. Yeah. I do have 2 t-shirts as well, maybe. So
that's half a holiday sorted then.
Yeah, but I've got to whittle down some of the other ones, and it's going to be tough. I know you had this problem back in October as well.
I did, and the problem was I kept picking the same jersey as Paul every day. We kept coming out like the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, you haven't mentioned that story on you. Yeah.
No, honestly, the amount of days we were on holiday and I went and knocked on Paul's door the following morning before we went off to a park or whatever, and he would go, "Oh, for goodness sakes!" and he'd come out of the bedroom. And he'd be wearing the same stuff that I've got on. And I reckon that happened at least half of the time we were there. So that's
quality. Yeah, how have you been?
Great.
Mate? You good?
Yeah, good, mate. Just been super busy with work and gym and all sorts of stuff going on this week. So yeah, all good, mate. All good. And somebody else been to the gym tonight. Gary looking buff.
Where?
The Neanderthal, as you said just now.
The
Neanderthal's been to the gym.
The Neanderthal has been to the gym. I am a Neanderthal, Mikey, on just about everything but my job. Pretty obvious. I'm just I even look like a caveman. So,
how's your week been, mate? All good?
Yeah, just busy, mate. You know what it's like. You just getting the pennies coming in and trying to catch time and watch Magic games and keep up with life.
It's been a bit harder this week, but we'll get into that in a minute why it's been like that. But in today's episode, we're going to talk about the win against the Oklahoma City Thunder, the loss to the Memphis Grizzlies, and we're also going to discuss Paolo Banchero, who won a certain award this week. But before that, you can grab your Orlando Magic City Edition and Statement Edition jerseys available on the NBA Store EU. There's limited stock left on the City jerseys, and you can still grab the blue ones as well if you use our code MAGICUK10 for 10% off your entire order. But some exclusions may apply. I don't think there's many, but I'm sure there is. Right, let's get into some Magic news. Starting with the Magic's record. We'll get into the games very shortly. So currently the Magic are sat in 13th position in the Eastern Conference at 14-25, coming off of last night's loss to the Grizzlies. The Magic are 10-12 at home, and they are 4-13 on the road, something that has to improve. They're going to get a good shot at that this week as they head out west. It's going to be a busy week. Paolo Banchero won Rookie of the Month for December. Guys, quick thoughts on that?
Absolutely well deserved. He's been head and shoulders above his rookie class, hasn't he? Obviously, Chet Holmgren hasn't played, and perhaps Jabari Smith. We expected a little bit more out of him as the top 3 consensus. But the way he's conducted himself, the points he's put on, shouldering the load for the Magic, and being the guy. And we've said it in the past. We need the guy, and we've struck out this last lottery, and I definitely think we've got him. And I'm sure we'll speak a little bit more about him as we discuss the 2 games that we played this week.
Yeah, how could he not? That would be the question. If he didn't win it, what would the justification be? Like, even by Banchero's standards, when he had a couple of poorer games, there was still just good rookie games or decent rookie games, where by his standards, that shows the level he's carrying himself at. And it's a point I've made on here before, but there is a very real conversation to be had that Paolo Banchero is the best rookie out of the last few draft classes. You know, you look at Scotty Barnes winning Rookie of the Year last season, and you put him up against Paolo Banchero, and it's not really close. And then you think, well, okay, Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, have they been better than Banchero? There's a discussion to be had there. And then you start to think, well, okay, the previous draft class, and that's some pretty significant company. If you're saying, oh, Banchero's up against, for example, Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball, that's Tyrese Halliburton and stuff. That's pretty significant. So I think it's a mark of the man of just how good he's been so far. And he deserves it. You can't knock him for it.
If you look at, sorry, G, if you look at his splits, because he came out and said the other day, didn't he, that he doesn't feel like he's played well in December. And I think there's part of that is because he got in foul trouble against the Lakers and didn't really see much of the floor. He had another bad game. I think it was the 2 games where he brought the afro back.
Yeah.
And then he had 2 bad games, and then he was like, "Nah, I'm done with this." And the cornrows come back out and the headband. But if you actually look at his splits, is that what you're going to say, G?
No.
Let's talk about. So for December, although his points per game dropped from, so October he averaged 22.7, 22.6 in November, 19.1 in December, but actually his efficiency jumped up. He was shooting 78% from the free throw line compared to 73, 34% from 3. He was 29% in October and 25% in November, so that took a jump. It's just his overall field goal percentage that took a bit of a dip. But yeah, his outside shooting and from the free throw line had actually taken a little bit of a jump in December, which was interesting to see.
The one thing I was going to add was the fact, I don't know if you've noticed it, the last 2 weeks, officials are not blowing the whistle. When he drives to the basket, we saw it even on the Oklahoma City game when he dunked on SGA. You know, his hand was all over it. It should have been an and one. Often he's driving to the basket and he is getting clattered. And whereas we found in October, November, he was getting those calls and getting to the line at a good rate, I do feel like the whistle has stopped being blown. So perhaps, that's something that will, add to the fact that he didn't have a good December in his own eyes.
Yeah.
I think as well, just as a comparison, when you think about it, the Western Conference Rookie of the Month was Keegan Murray. And when you compare the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference Rookie of the Month, Keegan Murray, Kings have done brilliantly this season. I think as Magic fans, we've got to look at it and go, good for them after everything they've had in recent years. But Keegan Murray got Rookie of the Month on 12.7 points per game, 46% field goal percentage. It doesn't. There's a pretty big leap there because like we mentioned about Jabari Smith. These are like your average rookie stats. Like Jabari Smith's putting up 11 or 12 a game. That's your average rookie, and then Paolo Banchero's putting up numbers that've got him in the All-Star voting.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a bit of a discrepancy here, really.
Well, his numbers are up there with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. I saw an image I think Dante tweeted the last 2 days, and he's in some fine company right there.
Yeah,
They're doing fine company.
They're doing well to be mentioned with him,
Yeah, and you just mentioned, G, about the All-Star voting. So we had the first ballot of the fan voting come in, and Banchero was 8th on the forwards list in the Eastern Conference, I believe. So keep getting your votes in for Paolo, because he's got a chance. He's got a chance, and I think the fan voting's only 50% of the actual votes, isn't it? I think the coaches and the players are the other 50%. So we'll see. He might get a reserve spot. I think that's a realistic chance if somebody pulls out with an injury, potentially. But it's pretty rare that a rookie, even as good as Banchero is, makes the All-Star game.
Yeah, I think Blake
their
Griffin
first
was the
season.
last one back in 2011. I think we mentioned it a couple of podcasts ago. So yeah, it is quite rare.
Yeah.
But we're having that conversation.
Exactly.
You know,
he's the alpha. He's the alpha. So updates on injury news. So we had some interviews at the start of the week from Magic practice where Jonathan Isaac was stuck in front of the camera and the microphone along with Jalen Suggs. And actually Jalen Suggs made his return against the Grizzlies the other evening. But I don't know if you guys have had a chance to listen to his interview or at least part of it. What did you think? Because to me, it doesn't sound like he's actually that far away. I think we could be seeing him very soon.
Wrong guy.
Sorry, Jay, you go on.
No, go on. You go first, mate.
All I was going to say was, I think if we haven't seen Jonathan Isaac by the end of this month, I will be quite disappointed. That's where I'm at. I would expect to see Jonathan Isaac by the end of January. So you never know if any of us are going to Orlando in the next, few weeks, and we've got 4 games in there. You never know. You might see the return of Jonathan Isaac. Do you know anybody, G, who's going to Orlando?
Yeah, there's a couple of people I know. I'm very hopeful that it will be that the first Pelican game now after this 5-game road trip. So it'd be like what it was when Markel Fultz came back last, I think February, March, whatever it was. And I hope the Magic make a real big deal about it. Even if he starts or if he's brought off the bench, then Coach Mosley make a right point of and he gets a really good ovation, and I'll be loud. So no, I'm hopeful that it will be within January, as you stated, Gary. It's just disappointing that it was the beginning of last season when he said hopeful that I'll be back by Christmas, and that was 15 months ago, and we still haven't seen him. So bless him. I'm sure he's itching to get back on the court, and no, we can't wait to see him back.
I think. Forget about the Magic. I just hope for J.I.'s sake he can stay healthy, just for his sake, not anybody else's. Because one of the things I took away from that interview was the fact that towards the end he just seemed a bit deflated, almost to the point where he's like, "This has just gone on far too long. I just want to get out there and play." And I feel like I think he just needs to see the floor.
Yeah, I think he's fed up with the media. Getting all these questions for the last 2.5 years. And he must be sick of it. Absolutely sick of it, bless him.
I bet he's sick of not playing more than having to answer questions. But
Tell you what, though, if we get Jonathan Isaac back healthy, it gives us our options in the front court are scary, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, just think of some of the lineups you could play.
Yeah. Can you imagine putting out Franz, Banchero, and GI, and then maybe throwing Wendell in and thinking, oh well, you've got Franz in a guard spot. That's crazy.
I mean, you could have Bol, J.I. and Bamba coming off the bench together. To be fair, though, you could see that it doesn't necessarily mesh well, but you could see it being effective at times because Bol actually plays like a wing anyway, even though the guy is 7 foot. So you could see him playing the 3. J.I. is a natural 4 anyway, isn't he? And Bamba's 5. It'd be really interesting to see those lineups of the 3 of them out there because that's going to be tough to score on. But yeah, so we've got 2 more injuries. We've also got Chuma Okeke, who's still out with.
Mikey. Oh, KK.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
I'm doing a Jonathan from the 6 Man Show. Yeah, sorry, Chuma. Chuma KK with his left knee injury, who obviously had the surgery, and I think back in December he was reevaluated. Sorry, he was going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks, so he's probably got a couple more weeks before we get an update on him. And Bol's missed the last couple of games because of COVID protocols, so hopefully we can get him back for the West Coast road trip. So coming up very soon. Okay, right, so let's jump into Magic Thunder. On Wednesday night, the Magic ended up winning this game. I've got to bring the box score up. 126 to 115. The Magic were very good in this game for stretches. I'll let G get his thoughts in a second on some of the calls. Paolo Banchero finished with 25 points, 47% from the field, 40% from the free throw line. We already mentioned that his 3-point percentage is starting to take a jump now, and we're starting to see that confidence from beyond the arc. 8 rebounds, 7 assists, really close to a triple-double for him. There was 18 points for Gary Harris, 13 for Markel Fultz. Terrence Ross had 18 off the bench. Yeah, solid win. I think I'll tell you what I think afterwards. I'll let you get your thoughts.
Well, first of all, let's just put it out there. None of us... Did you watch the game in its entirety, Mikey, before knowing the score?
I don't think any of us have watched the game in entirety, have we? Because
No.
of a certain subscription called NBA League Pass, which has been absolute... I'm not going to swear.
Careful.
It's been awful. And
hit and miss, I'd say.
No, it's been awful, G. It's
Shambles.
been really bad. I mean, I've always watched the games on Apple TV. We're going to deviate off the game for a second, but I've always watched a game on Apple TV. The games won't even load on Apple TV. I either have to resort to watching it on my phone, which isn't exactly the best viewing experience, or the only thing I've been able to do is I have to keep bringing my iMac downstairs and coming downstairs at 5 o'clock in the morning and watching it on there. But even then, I had to get up this morning to watch the Grizzlies game before work, and I watched the first half in the all possessions recap. I couldn't watch the feed because it wasn't available, and then at half time I refreshed it, and there it was. So I managed to watch the second half in full, but the first half wasn't available. That's some of the problems I've been having. I know you guys have had your own.
Yeah. Well, for me, I've been able to watch it, just that the score was spoiled before I started to watch the game. So as you watch the game, you're not into it as much because you know who wins. So, the nonsense calls by the officials, you can't even get angry about because, the good guys win in the end. So that's all right. So I've not had a problem with League Pass, touch wood, but I know young Mr. Craggs has. Do you want to share yours, Gav?
Yeah, just pull up a seat and get ready to be entertained, really, guys, because it's just been a complete shambles. I'm at the point where I'm actually considering asking for my subscription to be cancelled because the amount of games where I've put time aside, sat down, got the computer, etc., and then it's like, oh, you just return to Google. Whenever you're trying to sign in, it just takes you back to your home screen. I've tried it on different browsers, and it's like, Mikey, I'm not sitting there and watching the game on my phone. That's not what I've paid for League Pass to do.
No.
And I've paid for League Pass to sit there and watch it on. It's like on a Mac screen. It's not great, but it's better than watching it on your phone. And it's like, yeah, okay, I want to sit and watch the game in bed or something like that. Nope, you're not doing that. You're going to get returned to Google, and then you're going to go around the block, and then you're going to realize after about 15 minutes, whether it's live or whether it's on a nighttime, you can't watch this game. So I'm at the point now where I would love to give you like some insights on the games, but I've been reduced to YouTube. So what my message to the NBA is, what's the point? Like, what's the point of me paying you money for League Pass? I should just watch the games on YouTube and get 10-minute highlight packages. I'm not going to understand anything about the game because every shot goes in. But at the end of the game, like, at the end of the day, like you cannot watch. the game on League Pass, and I'm not the only person, because in our group chat there are other people who've had similar problems throughout the season. So if you're serious about putting a product out there, you've got to sort this. We can't put Bally Sports on. We can't do that.
And I don't know if you've done the same. You must have contacted support at some point on several occasions.
Several occasions, I got the point. I was like, "What's the point?"
And I've got to the same, because you think, "Oh, we'll start a new one. I'm still getting this issue," and then it's just a constant backwards and forwards about, what device are you using, what update of iOS have you got, and what update have you got on the app, and have you tried this and have you tried that, and it's like, come on, your service isn't good enough, and that's what it boils down to. It's not what I'm using.
Have you tried to put it off and turn it on again?
I wish it was that simple, Jay.
I'm going to give you. I'll give you my life test that I use for this, and I use this with League Pass, and this is where I'm at with it. If this was a restaurant that you were going to, and you were getting consistently food served up this bad, would you go back to this restaurant? And the answer is no. And the only reason why we're going back is because we want to watch Magic games. And this
it depends what the food is, Gary.
Food you would like to eat. Edible food. But the only thing that's doing it is because we all want to watch the Magic play. If there was another way, there are other ways, but if there was another way where we could do this properly and watch it, I think we would be using that now, because League Pass is that bad.
Yeah,
and I would follow that with sorry NBA, but I'm actually not sorry. You're getting my money for nothing, so there you go.
Yeah.
So what's your insight on the Thunder game then?
so obviously I was extremely happy because my brother is an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. So Banchero, absolutely superb. Obviously, we were playing this game missing a couple of players, Franz Wagner, Admiral Schofield, Kevon Harris. So we were undermanned. Caleb Houston came in and was absolutely brilliant. He did everything you could ask for him, of him. Passed the ball, shot the open shot, made a couple of threes. He scored 11 points. 5 rebounds, including 3 offensive rebounds. There was one right at the end of the half. I don't know if you remember, or YouTube let you see that, where he just hustled and put back a layup to give us a little bit of momentum. Obviously, you've touched upon Wendell coming back and starting double, usual thing, clogging the paint, giving that defensive presence, and literally it was the whole team. Everyone bar, Cole scored double digits. So, and Cole did his thing. It's a team effort, but everybody, Terrence Ross is hitting his shots now. But, I can't say enough good things about Paolo Banchero. He's absolutely superb. He's everything we wanted in the draft. I know we'll come on to the Grizzly game shortly. And, yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
What's your thoughts? Like, now you're getting to see it on, because at the start of the season we had this whole thing about what the starting backcourt was going to be, and I think when Cortez was on the pod, he said that he thought it would be Fultz and Gary Harris. And what's your thoughts on what Fultz and Gary Harris look like?
He did say that. It's a perfect combination, really, isn't it? I mean. I think when we did it over the summer and we were talking about our backcourts, and it was, Fultz or Anthony, or it was, I think I was the only one who said Fultz and Suggs. And then we kind of left Gary Harris out. But he's the perfect complement for that team in that, he can hit the long range shot. He's very good defensively. He's that veteran who can just be in the right place, put his arm around somebody, a bit of good advice for such young players, and I've got a little note here. The Grizzly game, we actually got to see that lineup first and foremost starting, which was Fultz, Harris, Wagner, Paolo, and Wendell. and we'll get to Grizzlies in a second. But yeah, Gary Harris superb as well.
It's interesting when you said there about the defensive side of it as well, because I think when he was in Denver prior to the injury, there was a point where the Denver fan base were trying to get Harris put forward as like a defensive All-NBA defensive candidate. You know, like they were saying like he was that good. Yeah. And when you look at what our backcourt's got, it would be really interesting at some point if you saw, like, if we were trying to lock a game down, what a Gary Harris, Jalen Suggs pairing could do when you start to add Banchero, Wagner, and Wendell on the court. I think that would be an interesting closer, depending who we're playing. So,
yeah. I mean, Fultz has got his fair share of steals as well. You know, when we were making that run in the Memphis game, in the fourth quarter, there was a bunch of steals right at the end. The pressure put forward by the guard tandem. So, you know, we've got so many options, and it's good to have.
Your heart must have been going like that, G.
Oh, when he missed that layer.
Don't think that was on YouTube.
Oh, wasn't it? I know they don't do misses, do they?
No, they don't do misses.
Yeah. How about you guys? Anything on the made shots that you saw?
No, I think
well, Mikey.
No, I think you covered it. Covered most of it, G.
Yeah.
For me, it was just nice with the made shots, the Terrence Ross playing like prime Michael Jordan. You know, like on YouTube, that's what it looked like. But in all seriousness, it was nice to see, because I know Terrence Ross, has been some question marks asked about him in the fan base recently. And it was nice to see what appeared to be from YouTube and from box scores and stuff, a vintage T. Ross performance. But unfortunately, for those of us with League Pass, we couldn't enjoy that. Let's go back to
that. Cool. Well, they got themselves going, and then they had the Memphis Grizzlies in town. So we're going to get into the Grizzlies in a minute, because they're a little bit of a... what's the word I'm looking for? They're one of those teams that not a lot of people like, but we'll get into that in a minute. But the Magic lost this one 123-115. They actually started pretty well in this game. And then the Grizzlies took over in the second quarter, torched the Magic, built I think it was a 22-point lead, G, at one point. 22,
yeah.
The Magic rallied back in the fourth quarter and got the game down to, I think it was 7. And then the Grizzlies just had enough to hold on. For the Magic, we had, again, another big game from Paolo, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. We had Wendell Carter Jr. had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 22 points for Franz Wagner. And it's funny listening to the broadcast on this one, because David and Jeff were saying, "Oh, we need to get Franz going." And the next minute you look at the box score and he's got I think he had 18 points at the point that they mentioned that. That was quite funny. Terrence Ross again had himself another good game. The flame was on. He made a 3 and then he dribbled up the floor in the next possession with Mosley calling the plays, and he just ignored him and just let another one fly. But yeah, the Magic fell short. Obviously, Mo Wagner was still suspended for this game. Jalen Suggs made his return. He only played 5 minutes, which is a little bit worrying. I haven't seen any update as to...
No, they never said anything. Just it was the first quarter. I think he made 1 of 2 shots. He had a shot blocked by Jaren Jackson. He was aggressive, but yeah, I thought he might have come back in the second half. But in fairness, our guard tandem are doing really well in the third and fourth quarter, so not surprised to see, holding back until the West Coast trip.
Yeah. What did you think of the game, G?
So, I mean, you've picked up on a few of those points there. It's the first half. You know, it was a defensive slog in the first half, but in the second half, we put up 72 points. We beat them by 14. So had you not had that, mediocre second quarter, you're right in there. Obviously, Memphis are a tough team. They defend the paint very, very well. Jaren Jackson really impressed me. I think he's got 31 odd points, 10 rebounds. but his length and just ability to help clog the lane with Steven Adams, really shone through. But Banchero, I said about it earlier, and I was going to mention in this game, he scored 20 points in the second quarter. And then you had Franz Wagner. I think he scored about 19 or 18 alone in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are guys. They are special. It's just a shame we didn't have the consistency to keep with the Grizzlies in the second quarter. But all in all, it was a valiant effort. But yeah, it just fell short to a proper Western Conference powerhouse. So no shame in it for me.
Gee, just listening on YouTube to this, I'm going to just keep going back to this, but it sounded like there was a lot of Grizzlies fans in the Amway. Would that be right?
There were a few jerseys in the lower bowls, yeah, and I thought there was quite a lot of Oklahoma fans as well. If I'm being honest, the night previous.
I'm just wondering, with these Grizzly fans who've rocked up, there must be really the legacy of Bryant Reeves. Like these big country fans who are they just want to rock back to the glory days of Vancouver Grizzlies. Is that what it is, do you think?
Unfortunately, they've got this guy called Geraint, haven't they?
Screw him.
He's a very, very good player. Although I'm not a big fan of him myself. I think they've got a real. And Mikey just touched upon it before we started talking with this game.
Before we get into that, I want to ask you, G, about one thing, because one thing I noticed at the end of this game, Gary Harris only played 22 minutes, but in crunch time, when we were making it a bit of a game down the stretch, Caleb Houston was part of that 5-man rotation, closing the game out. What did you think to that?
He's obviously, earned his stripes the previous night against the Thunder. I don't know if there was any issues with Gary Harris. Obviously nothing was reported by Dante and the team. So, but all of this is, playing a team like the Grizzlies is all about growth. And Vince Carter said it on the broadcast. All these guys are learning to be put in these situations like they were last night, even though we were down 22 at half, we rallied and we made it a game at the end. And, we were making shots at the end. Every time we went down the floor, you thought it was going in. But unfortunately, Jar had the composure at the other end just to make the right play at the right time, be it a lob, be it, just a pull-up jumper down the lane, and just put us away, unfortunately. It's just that just need a bit more interior defense, I think.
What is it about the Grizzlies that you do not like?
Are you going to go to Gary first, are you?
Either of you, because neither of you like them.
I don't like the attitude, really, Mike. If I'm being brutally honest, I think I get it why it's a case of it's a young team and brashness and stuff, but I just don't really like the way they carry themselves. And if you'd said to me a couple of years ago, the Grizzlies are going to be an up-and-coming team, they haven't really been a winning franchise in the NBA that often, I would have been like, yeah, I'll root for those guys out west. And then the more I've seen of them, I'm like, no, I don't really want to root for it. I just don't like the way they conduct themselves. I respect the model. And I like the players who are on there as players. So skill-wise, I like Ja Morant. I like Desmond Bane. I really like Desmond Bane, actually, as a player. But when it's all out on the court and the way the conduct, I'm like, well, no, it's just too brash for me, the way it's. So, sorry, not really a big fan of the way the on-court product is, if we want to talk in business terms.
Yeah. I dislike 29 teams, so this is just one of those 29. So, what Gary's just said, basically, there's a bit of an arrogance about them, whereas I don't think perhaps they have earned it yet. Obviously, they've been rubbing shoulders with the Golden State Warriors. I know there was a bit of back and forth going on there with a bit of a rivalry, and that's fair enough. But you respect Steph Curry and what they've achieved a lot more than, an up and coming team who haven't really put their stamp on, anything. So, it's just the attitude, I think. But there's a couple of players I like. Steven Adams, quality. I love what he brings. Really, really nice guy. Somebody I'd like on the Magic. And Geraint is a right talent. He's really good, but I don't know.
See, I just like I really enjoy watching Memphis play. I'm the complete opposite as you guys, but I just think they play loose and just I don't know. They're just out there having a good time, and the way they are as a group makes them click. Yeah, I don't know. I just find them really entertaining to watch. But
so I know you're a Steph Curry fan, mate. So if it's Steph against Ja in the Western Conference Finals, who would you want to win?
I mean, right now, because he's near the end of his career, I would say Steph.
I think Paul would agree with you as well. Paul's a big Steph fan, isn't he?
Yeah, you can't. Thing is, I get what you're on about, like the arrogance and like the little bit of cockiness and like I don't know, arms waving and just like I don't know. I just think they're just confident and don't care about what other people think, and I think that's actually a good quality that people could learn from as well. I would like to see the Magic. See, I look back to last week, right, against the Lakers when we lost to them, and I don't think the Lakers are very good. LeBron's obviously having a really good season again, but in that game, I feel like we gave them too much respect. I think that's part of the reason we lost that game. We didn't go out with a I don't give a shit attitude. Right? Yeah, that's it. I said it.
You said it. I went there.
And they just gave him too much respect. They gave LeBron too much respect, and the Lakers got what they wanted throughout the game. But no, I think Memphis. I mean, Memphis has got a really good chance of winning it all this year. I mean, there's some really good teams that they've got to contend with. I mean, what you look at the standings at the moment. There's arguably six teams there that could 6-7 teams that have all got a really good chance of winning it.
Do you include the Sacramento Kings in that?
No, I don't. G. No. I think there's 5 genuine contenders. The Celtics, the Nets, the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and the Bucks. I think the Pelicans and the Cavs are just on the outside of that, and the Sixers if they can keep this little run going as well. But who knows? And then look at the Mavs and the way Doncic is playing as well. So there's a lot of good teams. But I don't know. The Grizzlies got that confidence because they've gone deep in the playoffs. They've everyone's always given Golden State their flowers about the way they built through the draft and developed. The Grizzlies have done it exactly the same way. We're doing it the same way as well. But I can understand why people don't like him. I get that. But I'm a Raiders fan, so I said this to Gary yesterday. I'm a Raiders fan. Nobody likes the Raiders, and I like that. So if you're a Memphis fan and nobody likes you because of the way you are, fine. I've not got a problem with that. Not got a problem with it. Right then, so week ahead. The Magic head out on a West Coast 5-game road trip, starting with the Warriors on Saturday, which is a 1:30 a.m. tip-off on Sunday morning. The Warriors are currently 9th in the West, 20-19, and they're 17-3 at home. They've been terrible on the road, including the loss to the Magic back in November. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game against the Warriors. Then they play the Kings on the 9th of January, which is a 3 a.m. tip-off. They're 5th in the Western Conference, 20-17, and they are 11-8 at home. We've got the Blazers on the 10th. They are 7th in the West at 19 and 18. The Jazz on the 13th of January. They are 20 and 21, 10th in the Western Conference. And then they finished the road trip against the Denver Nuggets, who are first in the West at 25 and 13. And they are 15 and 3 at home. So this is a tough stretch. This is a tough stretch of games. So how do you think this road trip's going to go then, boys?
Come on, Gar.
I can see it going 1-4. I think we might get a win against the. I could see one, and I think it'll be maybe 1-4, 2-3. That's what I think we'll be.
Okay.
I'd be disappointed if we didn't get 2 and 3, if I'm being honest. I expect a win against the Utah Jazz. I know they're playing very well, and Lowry Markkinen and a couple of the young guys there are playing really well. Denver, I'll go back to front now. Denver's obviously a tough ass, especially with the altitude and the way Jokic is playing. But maybe one of the Kings or Blazers games, even the Warriors. I mean, I think they lost to Detroit a couple of nights ago. So with a healthy roster, a more healthy roster, we haven't been blown out that many times, touch wood. So I think we can compete and nick one of these first 3, beat the Jazz, so at least go 2 and 3. And I think we need that to keep our prospects of finishing in the play-in alive, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
How about you, Gar? Mikey?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if you don't win one or you don't win at all, then it's a terrible road trip. Like I said, Paolo said it in his post-game interview on Wednesday night that the goal's to make the play-in tournament and hopefully the playoffs. So if that's actually true and they want to give themselves a chance, because currently the Magic are 13th and we are currently 3.5 games back of Chicago in 10th as we record this. So yeah, if you go 2 and 3, you only lose half a game, don't you? Technically, on the ground that you're trying to make up between us and the Bulls. The Bulls have got a bit of a tough run coming up as well. I can't remember who. I did have a quick look yesterday, but they have got some tough teams coming up themselves. So yeah, end of the day, you just got to win games and see where it puts you at the end of the day. But we've got, well, you're going to be in Orlando soon, G. We've got the Pelicans. They're without Zion, unfortunately for your viewing experience, but that's winnable.
Yeah,
if they've
I know.
not
I
got
said that in the
Zion.
group the other day. Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing not to see Zion, but I'd rather see a W. So, and then we got Boston at home.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't get much easier when we get back home, does it?
No, and then you look at in between that, and then you go down the list of the teams we've got coming up. I mean, you got the Wizards. That's a must-win game because you're competing with them for one of those playing spots potentially. You got the Celtics. You got the Pacers, who've had a good season so far. Away to the Heat, the Bulls, Sixers twice on the road, Minnesota. Do you know what I mean? And then coming up again in February, right before the All-Star break, you got the Nuggets, Heat again. So it's end of the day, there's a lot of good
All
teams.
before trade deadline, mate. Yeah.
What date is the trade deadline? I cannot remember. I did look this up. Was it?
It's normally about February the 17th. Okay, hang on. I will put it into.
Have a little look. But yeah, I mean they've got to claw themselves closer to 500 than we currently are at 14 and 25. Don't know. It's an important stretch because it's really going to determine whether we push the chips in and push to get into the play-in, or whether we just play it out and see where the ping pong balls land, because that is it, isn't it? It's because
it's the 9th of February.
Yeah, The trade deadline's going to determine a lot, I think. So we shall see.
I don't think we'll go all in yet.
No, I don't think so either, Geraint. Do you think we'll make a trade?
I think we'll see someone like maybe RJ Hampton, Mo Bamba, somebody like that might end up where they're traded. If things aren't going well and we're looking unlikely to hit the play-in, I think if someone like T. Ross or Gary Harris said, I don't really want this, I think the team would accommodate them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think RJ Hampton's probably the player I'm looking at where I'm thinking I could see him going, unfortunately, because I quite like RJ, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bamba went.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. But I would. I mean, it depends what their plan is for next year, doesn't it? What they want to do with that backup centre role. But, yeah. I think RJ's, it feels like it's the worst kept secret that he's going to be on the way out at the moment. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah. So that wraps up today's episode. G, have a great holiday, mate. I'm not going to be jumping on with you. Now, I'm not sure quite when we're going to record the next episode. Whether it's going to be... I'm having a bit of a break for a few weeks because I've got some stuff coming up. But I don't know if we're going to have another episode before G's back or when he's back. But keep an eye on our socials and you'll find out. Thank you as always for listening and watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Orlando Magic UK, and leave us your comments. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Orlando Magic UK. So from Gary, Geraint, and for myself, until next week, or until next time, go Magic.